Imagine this for a second. You say no to something and you don't explain. You don't launch into a 3-paragraph excuse. You don't overshare. You don't apologize 8 times in a row. You just say it once calmly like it's the most normal thing in the world. And the room changes. People pause. They look at you differently. They lean in a bit. They realize, oh, this person doesn't feel the need to defend every breath they take. That moment right there is what we're talking about. The moment you stop explaining yourself all the time, people treat you differently. And it's not magic. It's not some mysterious aura they were born with and you weren't. It's actually very simple, very human, and very Machiavellian. Because whether we like it or not, every room you walk into is a tiny kingdom. There's status, there's power. There are little negotiations happening in every sentence, and every time you over-explain, you're giving away just a little bit more of your power. You felt this. Think about the last time you texted someone sorry for the late reply when it had literally been 10 minutes. Or the last time you sent a 5-line explanation to your boss for needing a single day off even though you had the days available and you didn't owe anyone a life story. Or maybe you tried to set a boundary with a friend. You said, I can't make it tonight, and then immediately followed it up with a whole novel. Why you're tired, why you've had a long week, why you still love them, why you hope they're not mad, how you'll make it up to them, and on and on. And when you hit send, you knew it. You could feel it. Tiny sting of why do I sound like I'm begging for permission to exist? You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're just playing a game you were never taught to see. Machiavelli wrote about power, about how appearance matters more than intention, about how people judge what they can see, not what you feel on the inside, and one of the most underrated appearances in modern life is how comfortable you seem with your own decisions. Not whether your decisions are perfect, not whether everyone likes them, just do you sound like you believe yourself. Because when you don't, you explain. And when you explain too much, you look like you're asking for approval instead of stating a reality. And that tiny shift changes everything. Let's slow down and be honest for a second. Why do you explain yourself so much? Not the Instagram answer, the real one. For a lot of people, it starts early. Maybe you grew up in a home where you had to justify every request. Why do you need that? Who's going to be there? What time will you be back? Why are you wearing that? And if your answer wasn't good enough, the thing you wanted disappeared. Or maybe you were the quiet kid who survived by being reasonable. You learned that as long as you explained every move carefully, people wouldn't get mad. You turned yourself into a walking disclaimer. I'm sorry, I just thought I was only trying to, so now you're an adult, but the script hasn't updated. You still subconsciously act like your life is on trial and everyone else is the jury. No wonder you feel exhausted. Now, here's where Machiavelli steps into your life more than you realize. He'd tell you, people rarely care about your entire story. They care how your choices affect them and what your behavior signals about your strength, your reliability, your place in the social food chain. If you sound like you're pleading, they treat you like a petitioner. If you sound like you're apologizing for your existence, they treat you like you're lucky just to be there. And if you sound like you're calm, grounded, and not desperate for approval, they have to adjust to you. They have to decide how to respond to someone who clearly isn't playing from a place of fear. Let me give you a simple example. 2 people send the same email to their manager asking for a day off. Person A writes, "Hey, I'm really sorry to bother you with this, but I was wondering if maybe it would be okay if I took next Friday off. My cousin is visiting from out of town, and I haven't seen them in years, and I know it's a busy week, and I completely understand if it's not possible. I just thought I'd ask, and I'll make up the work, and if you need anything at all, I'll stay late the rest of the week." Person B writes, "Hey, I'm taking next Friday as PTO. All my tasks will be done by Thursday. Let me know if anything urgent comes up." Same request, same day off, but these 2 emails don't exist in the same universe. One says, "I'm not sure I'm allowed to have needs." The other says, "This is normal. I respect my time. I respect the work." Both can exist. Who do you think gets treated with more respect over time? And no, it's not just the manager, it's everyone. People slowly categorize you based on how you present your decisions. Machiavelli would say, men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Most people see your posture, your tone, your willingness to stand by your choices long before they understand your logic. You can have the best reason in the world, but if you deliver it like a scared child asking for permission, you will be treated like one. This is why the moment you stop over-explaining, you feel a weird kind of silence. You send a shorter message. You answer a question with 1 sentence instead of a paragraph. You say no without a 3 in a trailer. And suddenly, you're sitting there staring at your screen feeling naked. It's like your brain is screaming, add something, they'll think you're rude, they'll think you're selfish, they'll misunderstand you. That discomfort is not proof you're doing something wrong. It's proof you're stepping out of an old role. You've been, in Machiavellian terms, too transparent, too readable, too eager to hand people the full instruction manual for your soul. That might feel honest, but in the game of power, it makes you predictable. And predictable people are easy to push. Think about the people you instantly respect when they walk into a room. They're not always the loudest. They're not always the tallest, richest, or best dressed. Often it's the ones who seem self-contained. They speak less, but when they do, it lands. They're not rushing to fill every silence. They don't keep justifying their opinions every time someone raises an eyebrow. We sense it immediately. This person's center of gravity is inside them, not scattered across everyone else's reactions. That's what you start to build when you stop explaining yourself all the time. Let's talk about what actually changes when you do this. First, your words become heavier. Scarcity creates value. If you send 10 messages to explain one small thing, each message is worth almost nothing. But if you say one clear sentence and then shut up, that sentence hits different. It's like money. If a currency is printed endlessly, it gets devalued. Your justifications are the same. The more you pump them out, the cheaper they look. When you stop over-explaining, people have to sit with what you actually said, not your frantic commentary around it. Second, people start believing you. This sounds backwards, but stay with me. When you over-explain, you think you're making yourself more believable. If I tell them every detail, they'll see I'm telling the truth. But that's not how humans work. If anything, too many details make people suspicious. It feels like a sales pitch. It feels like you're trying to control their opinion by force. Short, clean explanations signal confidence. They say, here's what's happening. You can like it or not, but that won't rewrite reality. That tone makes people quietly think, maybe this person actually knows what they're doing. Third, your boundaries stop looking optional. A boundary that comes with a long essay sounds negotiable. I would really prefer if you didn't do that because it makes me feel this way, and I know you didn't mean it, and it's probably my fault for being sensitive. But compare that with, don't do that again. Both are communication. Both express a limit. But only one sounds like it will actually be enforced. Machiavelli would say, if you must draw a line, make it clear. Power is not just about what you tolerate. It's about what people believe you will tolerate. When you over-explain, you're not just sharing your feelings. You're campaigning for your own boundary, walking around with a sign that says, please vote yes on respecting me. And the sad part is some people can smell that. There are people who will never say it out loud, but they watch how frantic you get when you think someone might dislike you. They test it. They push. They interrupt you because they know you'll just laugh it off and explain more. They ask more and more from you because they've seen you give long apologetic yeses before. They guilt trip you, and when you try to defend yourself, they watch you tie yourself into knots and think, got them. Machiavelli was blunt about this. Not everyone is good. Not everyone deserves full access to your motives. If you insist on showing every card, don't be surprised when someone plays you with your own deck. So, if you're still here, let's make it personal. Where in your life are you explaining yourself too much? Is it at work? Every email, every message padded with softening language so no one ever thinks you're difficult. Is it with family, saying yes, and then drafting a whole speech about why you couldn't say no? Is it in relationships trying to justify why you feel what you feel instead of simply stating it? Pick one area, just one. Don't try to fix your whole life in an afternoon. Now, imagine what it would look like to remove 30% of the explanation. Not all of it. Not yet. Just 30%. Instead of sorry for the late reply, my phone died, and then I had to take my cousin to the airport, and then I had this appointment, and it ran late. You say just saw this instead of I totally understand if you're disappointed. I feel really bad. It's just that I've been so overwhelmed and I didn't sleep last night, and my boss yelled at me. You say I can't make it tonight. Instead of, I know it probably sounds silly, but it really hurt my feelings when you joked about that in front of everyone. And I know you didn't mean to, but you say don't joke about that again. You might be thinking, okay, but what if they get mad? What if they misunderstand me? Good question. Here's the twist. That fear you have of people misunderstanding you, that's another way your mind keeps you small. You've probably spent years training yourself to preempt every possible misunderstanding, like you're playing chess in your head. If I say this, they might think that, so I should add this sentence. But then they might feel this way. so I'll add that. By the time you're done, your simple point is buried under a blanket of self-P protection. And if someone wants to misunderstand you, they will anyway. Machiavelli would remind you, humans see what they want to see. Their interpretation is not fully under your control. Trying to explain yourself into everyone's good graces is like trying to mop the ocean. You clarify once, maybe twice if it's really important. After that, what they believe is their business. Let's talk about something slightly uncomfortable. Your need to be seen as nice. Most over-explaining is a side effect of wanting to be seen as endlessly reasonable, nice, understanding, flexible. You don't just want people to accept your decision. You want them to approve of it emotionally with a smile and a little gold star. Machiavelli would raise an eyebrow at that. To him, trying to be loved by everyone is a weakness rulers can't afford. In your life, you're the ruler of exactly one small kingdom. Your time, your energy, your decisions. If you hand that kingdom over just to win a popularity contest, don't be surprised when your citizens, the people around you, assume you'll sacrifice yourself every time there's pressure. Now, I'm not saying become cold, rude, or heartless. This isn't about becoming a villain. It's about letting go of the fantasy that everyone has to like every boundary you set, every need you have, every choice you make. Some people will not like your no. Some people will not like that you're suddenly less available. Some people will be annoyed that you aren't explaining yourself like you used to. Good. That reaction is data. It shows you who only respected you when you were easy to manipulate. Think about this. The people in your life who genuinely care about you, who respect you, might be surprised if you change the way you communicate. They might ask questions, but they won't punish you for not graveling. They'll adapt. They'll say, okay, got it. They might even secretly respect you more. The ones who get angry, who guilt trip harder, who suddenly call you selfish or difficult when you start using fewer words. Those are the ones who are feeding off your constant self-defense. When you stop providing that, they starve. Here's a practical move, something small you can actually do. Start noticing your because. Listen to yourself. Read your own messages. How often do you say I can't because, or I didn't because, or I'm not able to? Because now I'm not saying you can never use the word, but just watch how often it appears. I can't go because I'm really tired. I don't want to because I feel awkward. I didn't reply because work was crazy. Now rewrite those in your head without the because I can't go. I don't want to. I didn't reply. Feel the difference in your body. The first version tries to manage their feelings. The second version takes responsibility for your choice and leaves their reaction to them. That's the shift. In Machiavellian terms, you're moving from defensive explanation to quiet authority. Quiet authority doesn't scream. It doesn't overshare. It doesn't hold a press conference for every personal decision. It states, it acts. It clarifies only when necessary. What about times when you genuinely messed up, though? Good point. Because there are moments where an explanation is fair and needed. You're human. You'll forget things. You'll hurt people. You'll break promises sometimes. Even then, over-explaining doesn't help. I messed up. I'm sorry. Here's what I'm doing to fix it. That sentence delivered calmly carries more weight than 10 paragraphs of backstory. It shows responsibility without desperation. It says, I care about how this affected you, but I'm not going to crawl on the floor hoping you don't abandon me. And here's the thing. People can feel the difference. They might not consciously analyze your tone, but subconsciously they're always picking up cues. Someone who owns their mistake with a straight spine gets respected. Someone who over-explains their mistake, layers excuse over excuse, and then apologizes 50 times, gets tolerated at best, and quietly looked down on at worst. Machiavelli's lens is harsh, but it's clarifying. People are always evaluating your strength, not your bench press. Your inner strength, your ability to stand in your own life without begging. Stopping the endless explanations is one of the clearest signals you can send. I want to say something directly to you here because I know how this sounds. If you grew up being blamed for things that weren't your fault, if you were called dramatic for having normal emotions, if you were punished for saying no, then of course your instinct now is to over-explain. It was survival. It was how you tried to stop conflict before it started. It was how you tried to keep people calm. It was how you tried to convince them I'm not a threat. Please don't be angry. You did what you had to do back then, but you're not stuck there now. You're allowed to outgrow strategies that once kept you safe but now keep you small. You're allowed to experiment with being the person who doesn't rush to defend every decision. You're allowed to be misunderstood sometimes. Machiavelli would argue that a ruler must sometimes be content to be seen as harsh in the short term to protect their state in the long term. In your life, that might look like someone thinking you're cold because you sent a short message instead of a novel. If the price of your peace is one person's misinterpretation, that's a bargain. Let's walk through a quick before and after together. Scenario: your friend invites you out, but you're burned out and don't want to go. Old you: I'm so sorry, I really want to, but I've just been so exhausted lately and work has been crazy and I feel horrible saying no because I feel like I've been distant, and I promise I'll make it up to you. It's just that I haven't slept and my head hurts. I'm just not in a social mood. Please don't be mad. New you: thanks for inviting me. I'm staying in tonight. Let's plan something another time. Same outcome. You're not going. But one version makes you sound like you're on trial, begging the judge for mercy. The other makes you sound like a person with a life making a decision or at work. Scenario: your manager gives you an unreasonable deadline. Old you: I'll try my best. I'm not sure I can make it because I've got all these other tasks and it's been a hectic week. And I'll probably have to stay late, but I'll do everything I can. And maybe if I skip lunch, I'll get it done. New you: with my current workload, I can have that done by Wednesday. If you need it earlier, we'll need to move something else. No drama, no self-pity, no 12-sentence essay, just facts. That's power, not power over others, power over yourself. The power to choose how much of your energy you spend trying to manage other people's perceptions. The power to stop running PR for your own existence. Juggling every possible reaction in your head is like carrying 100 imaginary people on your back. What will they think if I do this? What if they think I'm lazy? What if they think I'm selfish? Here's a harsh, freeing reality. Most people are too wrapped up in their own lives to analyze yours that deeply. And the ones who are weirdly invested in policing your decisions, those are exactly the people you stop catering to when you stop explaining yourself. I want you to picture yourself 6 months from now. You're answering messages with fewer words. It's but more clarity. You say no without apologizing for existing. You correct people calmly when they cross a line with you. You don't send a follow-up message 10 minutes later just because someone didn't respond immediately. At first, people will be slightly surprised. Wow, they're different. Wow, they're more direct. Wow, they're calmer. Then something subtle happens. They adjust. They start asking you instead of assuming you'll automatically say yes. They listen more when you talk because you don't throw words around carelessly. They think twice before pushing your boundaries because you've shown you actually have them. That's the treated differently part. It doesn't come from yelling. It doesn't come from dramatic speeches. It comes from the quiet consistency of a person who refuses to live on trial. Machiavelli would recognize that posture instantly. It's the difference between a ruler who constantly reassures everyone. I promise I'm good. I promise I am harmless. Please don't revolt. And a ruler who calmly governs, makes decisions, and accepts that not everyone will praise them. One is eaten alive by the first storm, the other outlasts the chaos. Here's the final thing I want to leave you with, and it might sting a bit. Every time you over-explain, you're sending yourself a message. You're telling yourself, my choices are suspicious, my needs are inconvenient, my truth is not enough on its own. I need extra words to make it acceptable. Over years, that sinks in. You start to believe you're guilty by default. Every time you choose not to over-explain, you send yourself a different message. My decisions are allowed. My time matters. My no is enough. My yes doesn't need a full PowerPoint presentation behind it. You are training the world, but you're also training yourself. Training yourself to see your own word as sufficient. So the next time you feel that familiar itch to ramble, to stack because, to apologize for the third time in one message, pause. Ask yourself, if I trusted myself a little more right now, what would I say? Say that, then stop. Let the silence do what your over-explaining never could. Let people adjust to your new stance. Some won't like it, some will push back, some will fall away entirely. But the ones who remain will be the ones who can handle you not on your knees, but on your feet. Before we wrap this up, there's one more layer to this that's worth seeing. Machiavelli talks a lot about appearances, but he also talks about secrecy, about not revealing your full intentions. Not because you're evil, but because you're smart enough to know that people can weaponize your transparency. In our time, we've swung to the opposite extreme. We live in an age where everything is explained, captioned, posted, justified. You don't just do something. You feel pressure to announce why you did it, what you were feeling, what your journey was. There's nothing wrong with sharing. But when you feel guilty for not explaining yourself publicly, that's when it starts to drain you. You skip a social event. You feel like you owe Instagram a story about recharging. You don't respond to someone. You feel like you owe them a life update. You change your mind. You feel like you owe everyone an essay on your growth. Here's a radical thought. You are allowed to move in silence. Not everything you do needs a press release. Not every inner shift needs to be announced. Not every decision has to be made relatable. You are allowed to just live. Silence in Machiavellian terms is not emptiness, it's leverage. It makes people guess, it forces them to relate to what you actually do, not the long narrative you wrap around it. When you stop explaining yourself so much, you also reclaim the right to be a little mysterious again. Not fake, not manipulative, just not fully on display all the time. And that actually makes your genuine moments of vulnerability more meaningful. When you do choose to open up, people feel the weight of it because they know you don't throw words around just to manage impressions. So, here's a small challenge for you. Something you can actually try today, not someday in the future when you feel ready. Pick one place, a text, an email, a conversation where you know you'd normally over-explain. Maybe it's turning something down. Maybe it's giving your opinion. Maybe it's admitting a simple mistake. And when you get to that point when your fingers are itching to add 4 more sentences, don't say the one thing that's true. Say it clearly, then stop. Feel that awkward silence rise in your chest. Feel the muscle memory screaming at you to send a follow-up, to soften it, to add ha-ha, or a sad face, or one more sorry. Let that urge pass like a wave, because that's all it is. An old wave shaped by old fears crashing on a new shore. On the other side of that wave is the version of you who doesn't need to explain their existence to everyone. The version Machiavelli would recognize instantly, not because you're scheming to control others, but because you understand something most people never learn. That in the quiet, in the space where you don't defend, justify, or beg, power settles. And little by little, conversation by conversation, day by day, people will start to feel it. They'll talk to you differently. They'll think of you differently. They'll treat you differently. But the real story isn't about them. It's about the first person who finally started treating you like your word was enough. You.